show today, in honor of the elder, to quote from one of his books that all the so-called black whoever's have on their bookshelf, all the conscious community got on their bookshelf, saying that they honor him and they refuse to deal with the facts that are presented. So we do hope that the listeners spread the message that Dr. Ben was on it. He wasn't some black historian, right? He wasn't some African historian. He was Moorish American. Just so you know, he wasn't only Ethiopian only, right? He had family that's from so-called Puerto Rico, Borican. So he was a descendant of the ancient that Noble Drew Ali told us that we're descendants of, right? So we have relative history. He has relative history with regard to the lessons that Noble Drew Ali brought. So what you're going to do, just like when Ivan Van Serma passed away, we told everybody who said that they honor him, make sure you go out and get all his books. Stop fronting like you support our enlightenment as melanated people, and actually show that you honor the elders. So the book that we're going to be reading from to start off the show today is Africa, Mother of Western Civilization. And everybody knows the book. It's the orange book. It says Africa on it, with the continent of Africa on it, with a little gray triangle, right? And we're going to go to page 545. We're going to read a little bit, just so people can get a perspective of what Dr. Ben was on when he was writing, when he was doing his writing. Before he started doing lectures and all that stuff, he had books, right? So make sure you go out and order the book, because guarantee all these so-called, conscious, whoever they call themselves, going to play around like Moors don't know what we're talking about, right? And they're going to say that they honor Dr. Ben. They're going to say that, every year celebrate him and all that type of stuff. They're going to say, his funeral, run down to wherever to touch his casket and shit like that. But when it comes down to nationality, they don't got nothing to say but this Moors, and keep playing this black, Negro, African, colored game. So we got on page 545, Africa, Mother of Western Civilization. One sec. All right. And this is just an excerpt, so you can go get the book. And from this juncture, 146 BCE onwards, it was all Europeans over Africans until the year 640 CE, when the Arabs from Arabia, called Muslims or Moslems, and other points East Asia invaded and conquered most of North Africa to become the new slave masters and imperialist rulers of the indigenous Africans of North Africa. The Arabs not only turned the tide of European rule in North Africa, but weakened the Europeans to the point where they could join the indigenous African Moors as slave masters over Europeans of the Iberian Peninsula from the year 711 CE until 1485 CE. Yet, just as it was the Moors of African origin who first entered the Iberian Peninsula as conquerors in 711 CE, it was also they who were the last to be forced out by the Spaniards i.e. the Christians, in 1485 CE from Granada. The expulsion of the African Moors came just 7 short years after Christopher Columbus and his African Moorish chief navigator and captain of the flagship Santa Maria, Pietro Alonso Nino, a native of Morocco, North Africa, set sail for a shorter route to the Far East and ended up in what is today called the West Indies, but which is really the Caribbean. Now there's a footnote on page 545 that we just want to read as well. Roman European and Numidian African against Carthaginian African, Rome, Nubia, Carthage wars. The first 2 Punic wars were between Rome, Europeans, and Carthage, Africans alone. Western historians continually try to impress everyone that the Moors were an Arab people, carefully forgetting that there were 2 types of Moors. The African Moors, the first to enter the Iberia in 711 CE with Tariq. There were also amalgamated African Asian Moors, the offsprings of African and Asian Muslims. The Asians, originally from Arabia and other areas around the Fertile Crescent, entered Iberia 12 years later. So, let all the casket carriers know that Dr. Ben didn't teach African history. Dr. Ben taught African, Arab, Asian, Moorish history. And he correlated the 3. There was no separation like you hear these clowns talking about the Arabs were the one that did this and the Moors are following Arabs and the Africans are the whatever. And Africans, Asians, and Arabs, to Dr. Ben, was known as Moors.